Welcome to Fierce Fit Feminine and Other F Words. I'm Christine Brunelli, and I help women unstuck themselves. Today, we're talking about binge eating. Have you ever struggled with it? I'm not talking about overeating every now and then. I'm talking about true binge eating. Today's guest is Sharon Svensson. She shares her story, very vulnerable story, of how she struggled with binge eating and how she landed on the other side. And in the spirit of December and the holidays, when we have all of this indulgence in front of us, I thought this would be an appropriate time to hear how she recovered. Let's get started. Well, Sharon, thank you so much for being here from sunny Idaho. I'm happy to have someone from Idaho on the show and someone that's willing to share your story about binge eating, body image, and all of those things. Thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm delighted. Sunny is pretty funny when you said that, when we have drizzle and
It's
clouds.
sunnier than Seattle. That's all I know. Okay, well, you are going to take us on a little journey that you've been through. We're talking about eating disorders and body image and our relationship with food and our body in my interviews with guests. And you have a story about binge eating that you are so willing and kind to share with us. Tell us how this all started.
Well, I was just thinking about that since this was coming up and dissecting it a little bit. It started when I was age 15. We had moved and I was in a different school. And I remember this moment of, I was super skinny when I was 13, 14 during that adolescent preteen stage. And I remember having bowls of ice cream and just how satisfying and delicious it felt. So that it was almost maybe like an alcoholic talks about their first drink, where it just felt so good. It was so comforting. Mm-hmm. And at the time, my mother had gone back to work. My brother and sister, they went to a different school, so they left early. And my dad was still at work, so that I was pretty much alone in the house and free to do what I want. And it first started with that. I think that just feeling of, wow, this gives me satisfaction. This just feels so good, because contrasts that to my experience at this new junior high. And I felt left out. It was a challenging time for me. So that I think that was kind of a way for me to get satisfaction. So the binging, I would call that overeating. The binging didn't happen till later. And this is what I know, talking to other binge eaters, because I'm a hypnotist and I've worked with people with binge eating. You eat a lot. People couldn't even comprehend how much you can eat. It's just mind-boggling. And I remember, and I don't know all the timelines, but I remember, I was a young adult. I had just graduated from high school and going off to college. And I remember, and it's usually the eating, for me at least, was by myself. And I remember eating a whole pecan pie, which those are super sugary, and I felt sick. Mm-hmm. So, and I remember doing things like eating a crazy amount of cheesecake, and different clients eating a couple of bags of those big Snicker bars and eating a couple of gallons of ice cream. So that there's a lot of shame and guilt, I think, that comes around it. Okay, so the moment that I really started to realize, wow, I have a problem, because what I did for the most part is I just kind of pushed it away and didn't really think about it. And it just kind of, I didn't do it necessarily daily. It kind of came and went. And I think it probably was in connection to my stress. But I was in college. It was my second year, and we had moved to outside of the dorms with these new roommates. A roommate had made these bran muffins, and then she had made a huge amount, and then she went off to class. So I think there was probably about 2 or 3 dozen bran muffins. And I just kept eating them and eating them until they were all completely gone. It's like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. So I was so ashamed. I went to the grocery store and I got some more bran and I made some muffins for her, but they were completely different recipe. I have no idea what she used. And I never said anything about it. And she never graciously said anything about it. But that was the moment. It's like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. I don't want to do this anymore. This is just out of control and nuts. So then I ended up that same year joining a meditation group where we met once a week to meditate. So to me, when I kind of dissect it and break it down, I feel like it's like, okay, I brought it to the surface. I really recognized it. It's like, wow, I don't want this as part of my life. And then with the meditation, it felt like I just kind of let go and I met it with love. I wouldn't have said it like that back then, and it completely disappeared.
Oh my God.
So I just didn't binge anymore. But that doesn't mean that I didn't turn to sugar or carbs or overeat, but the binging completely disappeared.
Okay, can I interrupt you here?
Yeah.
Oh, so many questions. So many. Okay, so I want to go back to your childhood. So this started with overeating when you were changing schools. So you feel like it was a stress response? Is that what you say?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. I was feeling I was cut off from all my friends. I felt really lonely. My family members were all gone. And it just felt like I was on my own in this.
Okay. And it continued in college. That's where it worsened, you would say, in college.
Well, I'd say that moment when I was 15 was when I just felt the joy, the comfort of the eating, the food, and what it brought me. And that's what I found with my clients. That I think of this one woman who binge ate. She had such good memories. That was the time she connected with her family. That was the time when everybody came together and she felt super loved. So it was a really positive association, so that during times of stress, she would turn to the food.
I see.
And I think kind of that, yeah, I turned to it for comfort. And even though you can feel it, it makes you sick. I mean, getting so sick, you're sweating, and I can't even describe the awful, yucky feeling that goes with it. And then you're filled with that shame of what's wrong with me? Why am I doing this?
Okay, so you're helping me really understand this because I've overeaten, but I've never struggled with binging. So
Okay.
our listeners, helping them understand. So the actual eating is enjoyable. You feel your connection with food. It really is a relationship. You're using food.
Oh, in the beginning. Yeah. But then because you're not getting the satisfaction. I mean, ultimately, that's not where you're going to get your feelings of satisfaction and fulfillment. So it's a temporary relief or solution, but then the emptiness comes back. So you get kind of desperate. I mean, I'm not saying this is for everyone, but this was for me. And I just kept eating.
Okay. And then after, of course, you have blood sugar issues and the body is just going, what the heck did you just do to me? So that's what you're saying. You're having all of the sweating and all of these.
No. Well, because you're eating so much.
Yes.
I would have it during it, but still keep going.
Guilt and shame came after. So
No. I think probably during too. It's like, well, why don't you stop this? This isn't even making you feel good. But to me, as a hypnotist, it's like if you have guilt and shame, then you have to punish yourself. So that I would keep, I don't really know if that was what it was, but I would keep eating. And I've seen it because I've helped a lot of clients with binge eating in particular.
Mm-hmm.
And just helping them come back to that place of feeling safe and feeling loved, and trusting that they'll get fulfillment.
I see it. Okay.
And be open to that. I'm not saying I'm any kind of expert on eating disorders, other than I've helped people with it, and I've seen them completely turn it around. And how I know that it's turned around for them is when they go through stressful times and they just don't even have the desire to binge eat. And that's what happened for me with the meditation, that was kind of a part of it. And then later, just different things that I did brought me back into balance with the overeating and searching out carbs or sugar. But the meditation, it completely, I don't know how long I did. It's once a week. I went to a meditation class, and within the year, that and a social anxiety disorder that I had, it just lifted.
Oh my gosh. I want to go into that more, but I want to go back one more time and just ask a couple more questions before that point when you started meditation. Were you having any issues with body image? Did anyone in your family notice the binging? Did you have any dynamic with that? All of those factors coming into play.
Yeah, well, I think as I was starting to develop as a woman, I got kind of busty pretty quickly. So by 15, I was pretty busty, and I think I felt fat because I went from that kind of pre-adolescent skinniness and when I look back, it's like, wow, you were not fat at all. Mm-hmm. And my mom, I know, I just had my uncle that came to visit, and my mom has passed. He talked about how she struggled with depression, just different mental illness issues. And she didn't talk about it, so I don't really know her feelings, but I know she didn't feel good about herself. She didn't feel good about her body. I don't think she overall felt good about herself. And he talked about how she was known as the fat kid.
Okay.
So, and she was really pretty adorable. She was a chubby kid. Mm-hmm. So I'm sure that flavored what I thought, but we didn't really talk about those things. And my brother also became a binge eater and bulimic too. So he would throw up, mm-hmm. which I guess it's more unusual for the men to have that.
Yes,
but
it is. It happens, but it is not as common. So I was just curious if you had any adults, trying to help you through it. It didn't really come to, it sounds
no, it was never talked about. If anybody noticed, it was never brought up, but that wasn't the family dynamics. We didn't talk about feelings or emotions. In fact, the opposite. My mom, I think, felt like she grew up in on a farm where you pull up your bootstraps and you take care of yourself, that you don't look for extra help.
Yeah, you just get to work.
Yeah, you get to work. Nobody said, oh, how are you feeling? Is this too much for your body? It's like, you just do it.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. That gives me some context. So now I understand you're in college. Now we're eating all these bran muffins, and you have this moment of, oh my goodness, and you find meditation, and meditation helped you. So this is, I'm sure, not an overnight, did you decide overnight that you're going to stop binging?
Well, I decided in that moment, I brought it to the surface. So what I mean by that is, it's like I didn't even recognize it before. I just kind of pushed it to the back where it wasn't anything I was going to deal with. So I just kind of pushed it under the surface of my conscious. And but that was the moment when it's like I brought it to the light, and I recognized, wow, this is pretty crazy. I have to stop this.
Was it a secret of yours? Did anyone know?
Not that I know of. I don't think so. I later found out years later that my brother had gone through the same thing too, except for he would actually throw up.
And did you ever, in your meditation, was there anyone leading your meditation that you confided in? Did you talk about it?
No, I didn't.
Just yourself.
Confide or talk with anybody. And so that's where, and it was, the meditation wasn't a guided kind of meditation. We just did breath.
Okay.
So we did breathing. I don't know how long it was for. And I connected, I guess would be the best word I could say, where I just connected to this love energy, to this beautiful, colorful place that I didn't know existed, to these other feelings. And as I just kind of let go and I went to that beautiful place, I could go in and out of it. I feel like it kind of led me on the path that I'm on today. And yeah, from there, so many different things just cleared up.
That's amazing. How long would you say it took you? You decided in that moment, that meditation class, did you give up binge eating?
Well, no, I didn't decide in the meditation class. I decided when I did that crazy eating my roommate's brand muffins and then replacing them. It's like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. Mm-hmm. And I recognized it. I recognized it as crazy behavior that I wanted to stop.
And instant? Did you stop instantly?
No. Well, I don't really know. That was back when I guess I was 19, or maybe I was 20. I don't know. And so I don't really know, but I do know that, then it just all disappeared. Because I think I was young. I wasn't over analyzing. I believe it's like you ask and you'll receive, that, you have a desire, there's a solution and an answer and a way. And everybody's way can be very different.
That's beautiful. And I love the simplicity, because sometimes we can overcomplicate these things with, I need to do this, this, and this, and follow these ways because that's what worked for such and such. And what works for me doesn't always work for you. And you found a way out. But I love that now you've taken this meditation even further, and now you're a hypnotist and you're helping people with binge eating to
as well as many other different issues. But yeah, I've had, that's been one of the things, as well as some other things that they've come for. And I love it that it really can be effortless and easy and light. And what I mean by that is that, when we let go of the judgments. So the first thing I start with people is to let go of judging themselves, that it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with them. It doesn't mean that they're a bad person. We have so much attachment to overeating and binge eating as if you're weak, weak-willed. And that's the total opposite of the case. To me, my understanding is that they're seeking out something and they've gotten it from, whether it's a sugar addiction or binge eating, to get a sense of control or a feeling of comfort and relief. And you know what? You'll take it anywhere you can get it. Right. And then it becomes a pattern of thought and habit, and it can start to escalate out of control. So that the very first place I start, and I think that's what I did with the meditation years ago, is I brought in that love. And to know that just because you're doing it now, this isn't permanent. This isn't destined to continue. And that to give people hope, to know, and I've seen it again and again, you will find your solutions. You will find your answers and what works for you, so that when you take away that guilt and shame and judgment and show up for yourself, just remember, you know what? You're just trying to make it work for you. You're seeking that relief or comfort, or there's a variety of different reasons I found, but this is kind of simplifying it, but when you, I guess, kind of accept it and you have a sense of there is a solution and answer, that can really lift things. And to let people know too that, so what if it takes you a couple of years? I had one woman where she started from a place where she didn't even relate to words like love, peace, joy. She's like, you say these words, but I don't know what you're talking about. So that, and she had no interest in talking about the binge eating. She had no interest in talking about nutrition because she wasn't at that place. So to give yourself permission to notice the successes, to notice just saying, yes, I want it to be different. I want things to change, and I'm open and receptive to receive the support and help. Because to me, that's a sign of strength, not weakness.
So
that we,
good.
Yeah, we're not supposed to do it alone.
I love it. Okay, so I don't know if any of my listeners have experience with a hypnotist, but let's roll into how you help people. What does it look like for someone if they wanted to find you? We're going to talk about that in the end of our chat here today, but let's just say they find you and say, Sharon, I need your help. I have an eating disorder. What does it look like? Can you work with people long distance? What does it entail to?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I work primarily with people by phone and on Zoom, and I have not worked with every eating disorder.
Okay.
I haven't worked with anorexia, but for whatever reason, I've worked with a lot of people that have come for binge eating. Probably because I've had that myself. So to me, the very first step is I have a free gift that I give. Okay. And it's a beautiful one for letting go of what I call the mental junk, clearing out the clutter like guilt and shame, letting go of your labels and who others think you are. And that to me is the very first step, to experience that free hypnosis recording to see if that resonates and feels right for you. And then for those that I work with, I can kind of simplify it in that I first start with the past. Let's clear out the mental junk. And hypnosis is so beautiful. It's such an ideal state to let go of the outside voices, that analytical mind of ours, all the different judgments, and to tap into that part that knows that you are worthy, you are lovable, that you're not your labels, that you're not what you've done or said or experienced. So that, because there's a lot of different reasons why people have, they're not all the same story as mine. So then I go.
Is this done through Zoom? Sorry, I was just curious. How do you do that?
Yeah, I do it online on Zoom, and I also do it by phone, and I do it in person for those that are close enough.
Amazing.
Yeah, okay. And then I go to the present, because we want to come in the present, to be mindful, to be able to listen to our guidance. Like we were talking before, growing up. Nobody said, well, how are you feeling? They didn't encourage you to tap into your body or your feelings. So I help people really see how they can use their emotions to guide them. That negative thoughts are just temporary moments, that it doesn't mean you're going to stay there, and that you can move up to a place where you can guide yourself to lighter, softer thoughts, and then eventually more joyful thoughts, so that when you're eating, you start to listen to that inner guidance. I remember that moment of when I was overeating. So this is past the binge eating, when I'm an adult, and I would go to book group and I would have the dessert even though I was full, or even if I didn't like it. And so I started to become more empowered in making those mindful choices. So I help clients override those old patterns of habit and thought, and more mindfully and joyfully live their lives. And then the future, I start to help them see that they can expect things, because what you can imagine, you can realize. so that they can start to see themselves differently and feel excited about the incremental changes, that we don't have to get it all done at once. That, to me, I've seen again and again that through the challenges that people come with, like eating disorder, alcoholism, a bad habit, an illness, depression, anxiety, phobias, whatever it might be, that it can be a beautiful opportunity for that evolution and growth, so that it can make your life more rich and deep and beautiful and expansive.
Wow. I'm like, or I don't know if any of you listening are like, how do I connect with Sharon? Because I just want more of this beautiful energy and love that you emit. I can hear it.
Oh, thank you.
You emit it through everything you say. Your words just feel warm. And I can see 150% how someone would heal from anything that you would help them with. And
Oh, thank you.
I've never been hypnotized, so I'm fascinated by it. I know that some of my listeners have. Can you share with them, how can they find you? I'm going to put it in the show notes, but I would love
Okay.
to know how to contact you if they wanted to connect.
Yeah, I've got free series on YouTube under Svensson Hypnosis. That's my YouTube channel. So I've got, for instance, the Joy Demic series that teaches you self-hypnosis. And that was to give people just support and love and comfort and relief during our challenging times. And I've got turn grief into softness and love. So there's just a variety of series that people can just experience. And you can go there, and then my website, SvenssonHypnosis.com. And I always have a free gift. The one that I have now up, I think, is the Joy Demic Challenge, which is take 10 days to turn around your negative thinking. And just one little mindset change can change the whole direction of your life. Yeah. When you think about a plane that's flying and you just take it 1 degree off course, it completely changes the path.
Yes.
So, so I try to give just some nice fundamental basics for free gifts that can really get people started to let go of the past. Because I think that's the first place to start, and to meet yourself with love, to know that you are loved. You are supported. There is support out there. There is your answers, whether it's going to me, a hypnotist, or you find a different path and way.
Beautiful. As we wrap this up, now they can go find your freebies. And self-love is something we hear a lot about right now. It's kind of the definitely happy to hear that we have more people out there talking about self-care, self-love, and acceptance. What practical, tactical thing do you think you could leave our listeners with, that would something they could actually do right now, as soon as this podcast is over, that they could do that would help them start to embrace that? What would be step one before even getting into, I'm going to go grab Sharon's freebie? What's one thing they could do when this episode's over that would help them move in that direction?
Okay. I think, just off the cuff, that one nice step would be to think about, maybe they have a child, or they know of a child, or just somebody that they really love. Maybe even thinking about a baby, to just see if they can't tap into that energy of love. That's what I call it. To me, the love energy feels light. It feels soft. It's just a really free, peaceful, comfortable feeling. So that when you tap into that energy of love, possibly with somebody else, you might get there first, to see if you can't kind of transfer it to yourself. And you don't have to struggle or push or make this challenging, because just by thinking about those thoughts, you become that energy and you give yourself self-love. So for instance, let's say I'm feeling bad about myself and I just start to think of my grandchild. Uh, let's say I think about my 7-year-old grandchild. It's like, oh my gosh, I can completely go to that place of pure love. And then you're in that energy of love and you're in that place of self-love. So that can be and to think about, a baby, if you're in a good space, a baby can poop and pee and you love them anyway. That they cry, they have temper tantrums, but hopefully if you're in a good space, you just look at it softly. Like a child learning to walk, you don't yell at them. It's like, oh my gosh, you fell down. Yeah, idiot. What a bum. You know that they're going to get up. They're going to move forward, that it's a process. So I would say that could be a nice first step to practice going to that energy of love. And you don't have to get there by thinking about yourself. You can get there in a different way, because often people are filled with such guilt or shame, or they have so many negative judgments about themselves. That's a really difficult path to go, to try to start in that place. And then I teach the self-hypnosis techniques. And I can just do that right now, where you just take a nice deep breath and then you exhale, just a sigh, like a sigh breath. Take sigh breaths. And that can help release and let go. And in my tutorials in the Joy-demic series, I teach the self-hypnosis and I give more insight in kind of bringing the breath and the hypnosis into that. But that would be, I guess, my first step that I would go with.
Gentleness of this is so inviting. It's so doable. And I love your example of going to a baby I love this one, a child learning to walk, a baby learning to walk. We don't yell at them when they fall down.
No,
but we yell at ourselves. We're so hard on ourselves,
yes.
And we're just trying to move forward. We're mean to ourselves. And I love that you can connect that to the kindness of how we would be with a baby. And if we can't be kind to ourselves, to at least start to embody that love and gentleness that we have around a child and a baby is so perfect. It's such a great.
Oh yeah. And you don't have to get it through that way. It could be maybe you go to that energy of love in a meadow in your mind, or a grandma, or that you get there in a different way. But yeah, it's
perfect. That's a perfect way to end. I hope, my friends listening, that you will go find Sharon's YouTube channel, her website. It will be in the show notes. Sharon, thank you so much for sharing your story, your tips, and your insights to help us heal from things.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
thank you for having me. It was a pleasure. So I hope we have supported a lot of women out there, and men too, because they also go through this, that they're not alone and they don't have to stay there.
Exactly. You're not alone. Thank you so much, Sharon. Oh, my friend, did you love her energy? She feels so light and airy, and I love that her story is being used now to help other people, that she is using the gift of being able to hypnotize others and work with their challenges to help them land on the other side. If you would like to work with Sharon, you can find her website, Sharon Svensson Hypnosis, or look in the show notes. I'll have a link there for you so you can connect with her, because she can work through Zoom, as she mentioned. And I don't heal anyone with eating disorders, but I am very dialed into it because my daughter suffered with an eating disorder. And if you think that you may be passing on your body insecurities, your body image issues, your dieting practices to your children under 18, I do have a free Healthy Mom, Healthy Kids body image guide that you can get in my bio on my Instagram account or on my website. Just go to there, look for the Healthy Mom, Healthy Kids body image guide. There are 3 things that moms typically do, say, or behave in a certain way in front of their kids and trip them up, and the kids start adopting these habits and practices. Next thing you know, they say, I learned it from my mom. I want to be here to help you. I hope this podcast inspired you. If you know anyone that struggles with binge eating, maybe it's your sister, maybe it's your mom, maybe it's a coworker, and they're willing to listen to a podcast, feel free to share this episode. Don't forget to hit subscribe so that you get notified the next time a new episode releases. And until next time, have a fierce, fit, feminine, and fabulous day.